morning, everyone. Welcome to Monday Morning Musings. This is Steve again. We are going to wrap up this series about the subversive nature of the Eucharist with a slight rabbit trail, but it'll tie in together at the end in the sense of how some of the Christian elements, Christian symbols, Christian values were fundamentally contradictory and a threat to Roman belief systems, and it would have jeopardized anybody who chose to follow Christ. And one of them involves the issue of augury. We have a word, inauguration. It means to start something. And it comes from the same root word as augury. And augury was the belief and the practice of the study of the flight of birds and the significance of birds in divine matters. Avian signs, looking for signs from birds, was practiced from Augustus to Domitian. It was believed the gods would communicate. And of course, the bird that the Romans believed was the bird of Jupiter was the eagle, the Roman standard. It became the symbol of their country, just like ours, for better or worse. And riots were caused when the legions would march into Jerusalem with the Roman eagle standard at the front of their, I don't know, this is not a parade, but the front of their marching, and I can't think of the word right at the moment. It was considered the most honorable bird. It was considered the strongest bird. It was alleged that Titus, when he died, he went to heaven on the back of an eagle. An eagle came and flew him to heaven. As a matter of fact, it's on the Arch of Titus in Rome. It was an acknowledged bird of the emperors. Every emperor of the era claimed that sometime, some way, a descent of an eagle had happened and occurred that validated their existence as emperor. Tiberius claimed that one of the reasons he was authorized to be emperor is because an eagle landed on his roof, and on and on and on. The eagle was the metaphorical image of divine endorsement and authority and power. Then you come to Christianity, and what kind of bird are we dealing with? The dove. Christians believed also that birds were a sign from the heavens. But based on the gospel record and based on what they believed a dove meant, they chose a different bird. And it was, of course, the dove. Eusebius tells us that when Fabianus was anointed as the Pope, that a dove landed on him. Whether or not that was around 236 AD. Whether that's the truth or not is not the point. It indicates a belief system, birds as divine messengers and heavenly authorization. Homer describes the dove as the most powerless bird. As a matter of fact, the dove is merely food of its prey for more stronger birds. Plutarch wrote that the dove was the bird that refuses to harm others. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was identified by the dove. Philo of Alexandria said that the dove was the gentlest of all species. Pliny the Elder said that specifically contrasted eagles and doves. And you can see right even in the symbolism of the church, the early church, an undermining of Roman cultural values. I want to tell you a little bit of a piece of history. Now, this is debatable again. You know how historians can debate about anything. But at the very time that Jesus was coming in to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, behold your king, meek and lowly, riding on a mule, a donkey, an ass. Pilate was holding a procession. That was the word I was trying to think of earlier, procession. Pilate, in another part of town, was marching into town with two cohorts under the Roman eagle banner simultaneously. The scriptures don't record the second event. Some historians do. So, right at the same time, in a sense, a cosmic message is being sent to the planet. There's two different ways. And these ways are not compatible. The Jesus way coming on a meek and lowly, anti-violent, not using force, would have been considered a subversive parallel. Even if that bit of data isn't historically factual, it sets up a parallel lesson that everybody would have understood. So even in their symbolism, Christians would have been and at odds with Rome. Herod the Great, at the end of his life, was very sick, and there's arguments about what he had, and worms. Some people think it was syphilis. Some people, it doesn't matter. But he was mentally diminished, and one of the last acts he did, literally just barely before he died, which he would have never done if he had his full faculties, because he was a sharper politician than that, as a signal to his commitment and appreciation to Rome, he had a huge golden eagle mounted someplace in the temple. I can't remember, probably in the outer courts. And it caused a huge riot. And is actually the beginning, that act, that bad choice. Herod knew better than that. He knew young Herod would have never done that. He would have been sharp enough to know that that's going to be provocative. But mentally out of it, Herod, who knows what he did all kinds of crazy things in the last month of his life. That act can be argued that dumb move of Herod's, provoking the Jews with an image, is the beginning seed that fomented and fermented the end of Israel, in the sense of the beginning of the Jewish wars were inaugurated by that moment of stupidity. A bird image, because you know how Jews felt, no graven images, and that includes birds. So just a little historical nugget for you to wrap up this series. Hope you found something interesting, something historically helpful. And I'm going to be changing tactics a little bit going forward. I've given you a lot of history, a lot of sociological context the last few months. Coming up, we're going to do practically a verse-by-verse exegesis of Matthew 18, because it is so misunderstood and so abused, and every day, and even recently as I'm recording this, is a big stink in the church about, I don't like to mention names, but a men's conference and everybody says, well, he should have followed Matthew 18. Everybody talks about Matthew 18. They don't. I've never heard in all my Christian experience, not one message exegetically preached from, people quote Matthew 18. They say things from Matthew 18, but I've never heard it actually taught. And it doesn't mean what we think it means, and it is misused and abused, and it becomes a control mechanism to silence people. And so that's where we're going to go next. Thanks for being with me on this series. I'll see you the next time.